Hello again, wonderful souls. It's me, Amanda, with Anam Cara messages, messages of the soul friend. Um, I've got a really weird one for you today, and I'm just going to ask that you take what resonates and you leave the rest for somebody else. And as usual, I'm struggling with the reluctant messenger. Um, and I really didn't want to do this one. But following a couple of conversations with other people, becomes apparent that it actually made an awful lot of sense to them. And, it's just another reminder that, sometimes when I'm working one to one with people, things come out my mouth that make absolutely no sense to me. And I used to keep quiet and not let it flow. I used to try and hold it back because, it sounds ridiculous and it makes no sense. But what I've come to learn is sometimes it's not meant to make sense to me because it's not my message. It's not for me. And there's also a lot of things, that the logical mind just can't comprehend and process. So, with all that in mind, I decided to once again face my fear of ridicule, etc., and bring the message that I was given. And this came in while I was doing something else, and I could feel it. There's a subtle difference between your mind wandering and thinking of things and something incoming. And again, something just said, grab a pen and paper. So while I was doing my other task, these little things started coming in. So I wrote them down and I had a look at them. So it's kind of, it's touching on the old, folklore, the old myths and legends, and in particular some of the shapeshifter frequencies, like the story of Dracula, like the vampires and werewolves. Um, and there is wisdom within all of this, and what I'm getting is that for our sakes, some of this ancient wisdom was woven into stories in order for us to be able to retrieve this knowledge and wisdom later on, as in here and now. And again, I'm no expert, and to be honest, I steer clear of most horror programs and movies because I've had enough real fear and horror in my own reality that I've never actually wanted to have it in my leisure time as well. I've seen the occasional kind of more the lighter things, like the Twilights and stuff like that. So again, I'm getting distracted. So what was coming in anyway, in relation to like the story of vampires, there's a common theme that they must be welcomed in. And again, this is going back to, I've been speaking with a lot of people and about what we allow into our lives. And I'll run through everything that was I jotted down first, and then I can maybe touch in on other things. So, vampires must be allowed in. And like in the movies or the books or whatever, like it would be portrayed as, they suck the lifeblood out of you. But, some of us will have heard the term, psychic vampires. And again, it's like that they would be the people that when you spend time in their company, you feel kind of drained and exhausted afterwards. And again, the emphasis here is on you allow it. People don't run around sucking the life out of you. We choose who we do or don't allow into our space. And again, boundaries. Boundaries is just coming so strongly lately. So again, generally, our energy, our life force energy, our essence, it's given freely because we allow these frequencies into our space. And then, you're left feeling drained. And again, like with the vampire I don't know if it's mythology, or I don't know the right terminology, but just go with me. So within the stories of vampires, like Dracula would then turn someone else into a vampire, and the cycle would continue. And if you think about it, like, if we don't have awareness of who we are and our energy levels and how we feel, within ourselves, it then will be very easy that when somebody has left you feeling drained and exhausted after spending time in their company, that, it's just you reach for people that you feel good in their company with, that's uplifting. And again, if there's still no awareness, you can kind of perpetuate that vampiric frequency of, somebody has left you feeling drained, so you go to another person in order to kind of feel better. And this has all been done unconsciously, with a lot of people not aware of what they're doing. And what have I got here? Yeah, so again, that perpetuates the same of feeding off the light of others, or the energy, the good feeling frequencies, the higher vibrations of other people. And again, this is where I just kept getting boundaries, and I have it with exclamation marks. It's, to get to know ourselves and be aware of our boundaries is crucial. And, that there's so much metaphoric symbolism and wisdom within all of these stories, whether it's books, movies, box sets, or TV series. And again, where does this creative flow come from? It comes from source. So, it's the wisdom is constantly there, source, spirit, God, the universe, like whatever you're comfortable with. There's always somebody trying to work with us, to guide us, to light the way. Now, again, it touched on, I got about shape shifting. And this is kind of like how sometimes people can, betray a different image. They can embody another frequency, trying to, pretending to be more loving, giving, and caring. And again, that's to entice you in. And I'm getting like no reflection, mirror work. And if you've seen any of my other videos, I do talk about the importance of mirror work and getting to know yourself, and learning to have compassion and love for yourself. And again, in the vampire stories, myths, and legends, it often depicts the vampires of not having a reflection. They cannot see themselves in the mirror. And again, this is kind of metaphoric symbolism. I'm aware how crazy this sounds, but like I said, there's somebody that needs to hear this. There's somebody that this is going to click something in their own little jigsaw of awareness. Something's going to click in place. So again, it's that thing of they cannot see their own reflection. And, that often happens in day-to-day life, where people actually really don't see what they're doing. They're not aware. They don't always see, their behavior. Well, it is reflected back to us always. Once you become aware, you recognize it. But when you don't have that awareness, when you don't have any of that wisdom or knowledge, when nobody has brought any of this to your attention, and you haven't learned about it or been taught about it, you can go around oblivious, and many, many do. But then what came in is, true love's kiss. That's a common theme in many, many, fairy tales, myths, legends, etc. And again, it's that frequency of love conquers all. The love, the divine, higher vibrational frequencies always dispel the heavier, denser frequencies. It's just physics. And again, I didn't do physics at school, wasn't my area, but I'm just a messenger. So I'll deliver what I'm receiving. After that, it's not really for me to always interpret, because it's not always my message. And again, there was one of the people I spoke to, and actually mentioned this message that had come through, and my reluctance to deliver it because of how it sounds and how it might come across. And she just went, "Oh my God, I've literally just looked at Ed Sheeran's new video, what she said it's called, Bad Habits, about 20 minutes ago before I spoke to you." And she said, he's a vampire in that. So again, there's always synchronicity. Spirit always works in mysterious ways. And I don't always understand the whys. And sometimes it's not for me to understand. And as I mentioned at the start of this video, sometimes, but just offering it anyway, it resonates with the receiver. So perhaps that video or the lyrics themselves may have some relevance to you. So again, my role is not to give you all the answers. My role is to simply deliver messages that are being sent through me. After that, it's up to you to either take what resonates or leave it, plain and simple. But if anything is resonating, go do your own work. Do a bit of digging, look into it, look up the lyrics of songs, like anything you notice that causes that sense of resonance within. Because what I've come to understand is truth always resonates deeply. You feel it within. And again, if anything I say in any of these videos resonates with you, well then take that. And it's up to you what you choose to do with it. Now, so back to the whole boundary thing. And again, the links of the hidden wisdom. It's really important that we do our own mirror work, that we learn to recognize ourselves, like truly see ourselves, who we really are. And again, as I've mentioned in other videos, not looking through the lens of criticism and judgment, and picking at ourselves and, all that negative self-talk. I'm talking about looking in the mirror with love in your heart, having compassion for yourself, seeing the person looking back at you, seeing and becoming aware and acknowledging their story and what they've experienced in life. Having compassion for their perspective, not the inner criticism and look at you, you're too soft or you're this, that, and the other. Actually look in the mirror with compassion, with an open heart. Speak to that person you see in the mirror. Acknowledge everything that person has overcome in life. Every challenge, every experience that, both pleasant and unpleasant. And again, look at the lessons you've learned and recognize the fact that you're still standing. So no matter what life has thrown at you so far, you're still here. You rose again and again. Sorry, I'm getting phoenix. I'm getting the image of a phoenix rising from the ashes again. And this is all tying back in. We're so quick to put ourselves down and dismiss ourselves. But really, if you actually look at yourself, if you try to get to know yourself, if you're open and willing to get to know yourself, you begin to recognize how incredible and amazing you really are. You begin to recognize how much you've overcome, not just once, but time and time again. You always rise like the phoenix. And again, this is all death and rebirth cycles. And lately, I'm getting an awful lot of three energies. I'm getting, the Morrigan frequency, or the Morrigu, as I've experienced her. And again, she's a triple deity or goddess frequency associated with death and rebirth. And, the same thing with the vampires. Dying to one's old self and being reborn in another, the eternal life. Whereas in some of those, it's the eternal life in the shadow, which is bringing us back then. Sorry, I'm getting the love, I'm getting True Love's kiss. But, if we can open our own hearts, if we can find and tune in to the love that exists within each and every one of us, that divine connection that flows through every single one of us on the planet, that love, it really does conquer all. So when we encounter, and again, I'm not suggesting it's not our responsibility to run around, rescuing other people, The way I see it, if somebody comes to me and asks for my help, I will do whatever I can to help. But it is not my job to run around and go, oh, I see what's going on in your life here, let me help you. And I think that's the purpose of these videos. It's not about telling anybody anything. It's just about offering assistance, offering certain knowledge, wisdom, messages, whatever is coming through. My role is simply to offer it. It is here for you to take what resonates and disregard what doesn't. And I trust that, well, I'm learning to trust, I'll correct that spirit will only guide people to these videos who are ready to receive it or who are seeking whatever answers may lie within each video. I'm still struggling with, totally embracing that because, I've never trusted anyone or anything in my life because I learned not to. But I am learning to trust in my connection with spirit and my spirit team because they don't steer me wrong. So as much as, Amanda, the personality is going, oh my God, you can't go on a video and talk about vampires and werewolves and, the links, within, because again, there's just so much metaphorical wisdom. And what am I getting? Wisdom woven into the tapestry of life. And again, it's there to guide us. It's there to help us if we're open to noticing it and receiving it. And again, I'm not an expert, so it's not for me to explain it all in detail because I actually don't understand. But I'm trusting that if any of this is relevant to you, you will feel it. And, when you, again, do a little bit of reflection work, do a bit of mirror work, look at your own life, self-reflection. Where in your life have you been welcoming in people that have drained you, and leave you feeling exhausted? It's time to start becoming a little bit more aware, of how valuable our own energy is. We've all been conditioned to be good little boys and girls and do, what's polite. And, I was speaking to somebody the other day about, our homes and how often have we ended up saying, oh, come on, do you want a cup of tea? And we end up inviting somebody in that we actually don't want to spend time with. But again, we've been conditioned to believe that if we don't do this, we're very rude people. When, your home is your sanctuary, your home is your safe space. Now, I'm not for a minute, suggesting we need to be getting aggressive or mean or nasty to people. Not at all. Quite the opposite. It's more a case of I would be suggesting, let's start having a little bit more compassion. Let's start recognizing when we're being triggered. And again, triggered is something that is coming up a lot. And I became a little bit concerned that some of my videos may be triggering to people. And I've come to understand that when I'm triggered, the moment I recognize that, it's a beautiful gift. And I really appreciate then whoever has triggered me, because I've now come to view it as this is a beautiful moment to, heal this. Because if I'm having a sudden, strong emotional reaction and it's like, that's, and you know what I'm talking about, these explosive reactions that you have to something that's not actually that big a deal. And what I'm coming to understand is, in those moments, whatever frequency we're experiencing, whatever that situation, whatever emotion that situation causes us to feel, in that moment, an echo, and every echo of every other experience in your life where you felt that same feeling or similar feeling frequency in another moment comes flooding back, because you haven't acknowledged it, you haven't released it, you haven't freed yourself from it, because again, we weren't told. Most of us didn't have the elders with the wisdom to explain to us how to process and deal with this, how to breathe through these, challenging frequencies and emotions when we experience them. So most of us have developed this habit of, we've been told big girls don't cry, big boys don't cry. So we tend to stuff things down that bother us. And as a result, these emotions have gone unacknowledged, for many people all their lives. Which is why there's so many people getting triggered left, right, and center. But they're oblivious to it. And again, this is like the vampire frequencies, where they actually don't realize it. They don't see their reflection. They don't recognize that, it's the habits and behavior that they've developed in order to survive. They're not serving them anymore. And in fact, it's actually becoming detrimental to their experience, and it's causing problem in your right here, right now. Again, I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. So again, if I'm using wrong terminology, don't shoot the messenger. This is just what I'm being guided to say. And I'm learning that there's always somebody that needs to hear this, even if it's not making sense to me. And again, bear with me as I sometimes start, explaining myself, because I really do struggle with this, and I really do struggle with doing these videos and coming live. But my intention is just purely that, I just hope it helps somebody and it makes sense with somebody. And like that, one-to-one, I've learned, even if it makes no sense to me, let it flow out my mouth anyway, because somebody always goes, oh my God, I needed that. So I just have to trust that somebody, maybe it's you click this for a reason. Yeah, to cover all of that. Yeah, and boundaries. So again, the welcoming in aspect, that thing of, we get to choose our homes, our safe space. And again, not just our homes, but our personal boundaries. We have our own little auric field that is ours. And we have every right to choose who can enter or not, because, sometimes other people's frequencies, they're so out of sync with our own that it feels really uncomfortable and unpleasant to be in close proximity with them. And, again, I wouldn't be talking about judging, because it's not for any of us to judge. But we do, we are free to discern, actually, this doesn't feel too good, and this isn't for me. I'm off elsewhere. And it's not about looking then and criticizing. It's just about this personal choice of, this situation really feels off. These are not my people. It doesn't make them bad people or wrong people. It just makes them not your people. So this is where it's like, let go of the judgment. We don't need to judge it. All you need to do is discern. For me, not for me. And if something feels off, trust yourself. Not for you. And go your own way. And, leave other people to find their own people, because, we all resonate differently with different people. Yes, I'm all, for tuning in to this unconditional love. And it's within finding unconditional love for yourself and tuning in and, really learning to love and respect yourself, that you become a little bit more aware of your energy and, how precious it is. And your time is one of the most valuable things you have. So, choose wisely how you spend it and who you spend it on or with. Because if you're feeling completely and utterly drained all the time, you're allowing it, because you're choosing to expend your energy. You're choosing to pour yourself into a person, situation, thing, or whatever, again, you choose to do this, you free will. But you see, you also have the free will to actually go, no, this doesn't feel too good. I realize that I always end up feeling really awful or tired or drained after I spend time doing, ABC, whatever that experience may be for you. And this is where it's like taking accountability and responsibility for yourself and for your choices. So, set those boundaries. And I speak to an awful lot of people. There's a lot of loneliness in the world. And there's a huge, huge difference between being alone and being lonely. And I can only speak for myself. And, you know, some of my loneliest moments in my life haven't been when I'm alone. They've actually been when I'm in company. You know, there's a big difference. And I've learned now to love my alone time. Now, it used to terrify me. I used to hate the thought of being alone. And, you know, it was because I didn't know myself. I didn't want to be with myself. In fact, I actually loathed myself. If I'm being really honest, I had so much self-loathing, you know, and I'd taken on so many frequencies of, you know, being unworthy because at the time I thought other people's treatment of me was a full-on reflection of me. And that meant I've spent most of my life feeling, you know, utterly worthless, unlovable, you know, just a waste of time and the world would be better off without me. Now, I know now that that is not true at all. That's not the case. But that's, you know, just where they're the frequencies I used to dwell in. That's what became familiar to me. And sometimes, you know, we fear change. And I think I may have mentioned in one of my other videos before about, you know, I feared my light. I really did. You know, when I first became aware of, you know, what the potential of what's in, it scared the crap out of me because I was so used to living in the shadows. It was all I knew. And sometimes it's like, you know, comparing, you know, if you have a comfortable pair of slippers or runners or whatever, you know, something that's really comfortable, but you've worn them so much that they're literally falling apart and disintegrating. And, you know, you need a new pair, but, you know, the breaking in of them sometimes, and I don't know about you, but for me, I'm just using this as an example, but sometimes, you know, to break in new shoes, you can get blisters until they kind of mold to your foot and, you know, become more comfortable. And, you know, the same applies kind of energetically. You know, when you want to leave behind the heavier, denser frequencies of the past and move into the, you know, the higher vibrational frequencies of the now, because again, you get to choose. You have the power to choose in every moment of every day what frequencies you want to tune into. Um, and look at, there are lots of times there are terrible things that happen, and we can't always control our circumstances. But what we can do is control our reaction, whether we react or whether we respond. And I've been learning to practice the pause, you know, rather than, you know, I can feel something coming up and I'm about to react, because I've learned 9 times out of 10, you know, this is old echoes of stuff coming up to the surface, and it really doesn't serve me. It was causing trouble for me. Now I'm learning to kind of take a breath and take, you know, no, energetically take a step back and observe. And, you know, is getting upset, is crying, or, you know, getting angry or shouting and roaring, is that going to serve me right now? Will that benefit me? Or will all it's there to do is make me feel worse and, you know, even more exhausted? Because when you react in those ways, it usually then has an effect on others around you, and, you know, our relationships and households can suffer as a result, or work colleagues, whichever, you know, whatever fits your own situation. um and again, it's that thing of taking the breath and recognizing then as well, are you being triggered? Because, you know, being triggered isn't actually necessarily a bad thing. Like I've already mentioned, it's a wonderful opportunity to go within and, you know, recognize past echoes that are bubbling up. But this all stems, you know, you have to get to know yourself. It's so important. You cannot expect anyone else to preempt and know your needs if you don't know yourself. You know, if you're portraying this happy face that, oh yes, everything's grand, everything's wonderful, but inside you're seething in anger or rage because you're not acknowledging your feelings, because you're pushing it down, because that's what you've been shown how to do. That's what most of us have learned to do. But it doesn't serve us. We have to, it's so important that we turn and face these emotions. And again, you can face them without fear because you've already survived every single instance that you've experienced these unpleasant frequencies before. And, here I am again, here's the repetition. And this kind of starts to trigger my insecurities. But again, the reason some of these messages are repeated is because it needs to be. It needs to be heard. It may not have been received previously, or maybe there's somebody new listening. But it is so important for each and every one of us to get to know ourselves, really and truly get to know ourselves. And, particularly in the dating world nowadays, nobody's taking time to get to know anybody. Like, they really aren't. We're living in an age of instant gratification. We want something and we want it now. Now, if you look at your other friend circles, yeah, if you look at, the dynamics within your life. So, depend on your age group, whether it's school friends, college friends, work colleagues, we have different circles of friends in different areas and aspects of our lives. And when we say, for example, start a new job, you don't come home from work on the first day deciding, you've got new best friends and come on, let's come over to my place and let's, start spending all our time together and, fantasizing about this wonderful lifelong friendship we're going to have. We don't do that. We actually take our time and we get to know people. And if we, feel connections and we're getting on well with some colleagues or other students or, again, whatever your situation may be, if we're feeling connections with people, then we may, go for a coffee with them or a night out. And again, we get to experience them in a different arena of life, so them in their work capacity, and who they are at work. Then you begin to get to know them at various different social events and social engagements. And again, you're getting to know these people on a deeper level. You become more aware of who they are and how in harmony they are or are not with your own frequency. And gradually, over time, you start to build your kind of inner circle of friends, the people you feel most comfortable with, who you trust, and it feels safest to literally just be yourself. And, it's just striking me so odd lately that, if we're that discerning in all of our other relationships, why is it then when it comes to, seeking a partner, a potential partner, why are we so quick to skip all of that? Why are we skipping the getting to know you phase? You can't get to know somebody over one or two dates or coffee dates or meals or whatever. It takes time. And this is where, sorry, I'm getting back into the kind of the shapeshifter frequencies. Do you know that some people can turn up and again, they're putting on their best front forward. Their best face is being shown. And again, this stems from not really knowing themselves, not knowing who you are. So you're constantly like a chameleon trying to fit in every different event and, portray yourself as well as you can. And again, this is time back in. If you do the mirror work, when you get to know yourself, when you get to truly know yourself, what lights you up and what doesn't, and, when you start to love yourself, when you start recognizing your own light within, you realize you don't need to wear these masks or, personas, that you can just be yourself because the right people for you. You see, if you're sitting in your own authenticity, you're resonating in your own authentic frequency, which means, and again, it's back to law of attraction. Where are my minds? Law of attraction. We live in a universe where it's attraction. So whatever vibration you're offering out, that's what you attract. So if you're offering your authentic connection, your vibration, you're going to attract more authentic connections of a similar frequency. And again, this comes down to in order to know yourself and to get to know other people, you have to know yourself first and foremost. It's crucial. And you see, when you know yourself and when you tune in and you understand how you feel about various things and situations, um, you know, you know yourself. It's easier then to discern, what situations in life you're comfortable in. Everything starts to improve because you're more tuned in to what is in resonance with you as opposed to being, is it dissonance or disharmony? And, when you start feeling stronger in that, then you're much more discerning in who you allow into your life. You're not coming from a place of, oh, this person might make me feel better. You're not looking to take. You're just being you. And then law of attraction brings you people to match that frequency. So there'll be harmony. Now look, I'm not saying you're always going to have this perfect match, but you do know, you feel resonance. And again, it's back to that thing of don't rush. When you meet somebody that feels really good to be around them, you still need to take time to get to know them, because in that moment, your frequencies are in harmony. You're enjoying whatever experience you're having in whatever setting you happen to be in that moment. But again, it takes time. You could meet that same person in another setting and, they won't be as comfortable as you, or you won't be as comfortable as them, whichever. And, you kind of go, oh, maybe we're not quite as compatible as I thought. And so many people are skipping all of this getting to know you stuff and end up in relationships that are really unhealthy, not because either in that couple are bad people, they're just not suited, but they never took the time to discover, are they in harmony with each other? And wound mates is something that keeps coming up as well, and it's coming in now really strongly. Again, we're talking vibration. Like attracts like. And sometimes, somebody that will understand you on a level because they've experienced similar frequencies of pain, there's that kind of subtle, unconscious recognition. And, sometimes then we can develop relationships thinking we're with a soulmate, but it's actually more like a wound mate. I don't even know if that makes sense, but you know, I'm I've witnessed this, I've experienced this, I've felt this, and again through speaking with many many people over many many years, I've seen all of this playing out, and I can feel it. Um, so again, I don't know. I'm just taking that my mission or my job here, it's not about telling you what to do. It's just about offering this information out. And, take it if it resonates and leave the rest for somebody else, because it might resonate with them if it's not resonating with you. I'm going to pull a couple of cards before I wind this up. No idea why, but look at So I have my dragon deck. I don't know, my mystical charm. I can't find my big deck, but I have my little pocket deck with me there. I have a feeling they wish to speak. And again, I'm beginning to look at everything as frequency. Same with the plants and the animals. And they all do speak to us if we're willing to just quiet the mind and listen. And when I say listen, it's not necessarily listening with your physical ears. It's listening in the sense of being receptive, feeling, and you do, like, if you center yourself, if you practice conscious breathing, if you spend time getting to know yourself, tuning in to yourself, you eventually, find that place of calm. Like, sometimes it feels like a sense of home within. And by taking a few conscious breaths, then you can kind of tune into that energy at will with a little bit of practice. And when you're in that space, when you're in that lovely, soothing sense of home, when you're in your heart space and you're in the love frequency, it's just very easy to receive what's out there. And like that, sometimes, plants talk to you, crystals talk to you. And, being a skeptic once upon a time, I used to be like, yeah, right, you're all cracked. I thought people were nuts. Until one day I went for a reading with somebody, and I remember during it, there was crystals on the table, and there was one little stone, kind of greeny pink with little speckles on it. And I don't know, I just kept looking at it for some reason. But at the end of the reading, anyway, she said, and now that we're done, she said, you can pick a crystal of your choice to bring home with you. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, well, I love rose quartz because, I want more love in my life. And, there was a lovely rose quartz to choose. And I said, oh, I love the word rose quartz. And I said, can I just ask you, what's that one? Because while you were reading, I couldn't help looking at it. It just kept catching my attention. And she just went, she picked it up. She went, this one is for you. Now the name is eluding me at the moment, but that morning, just before went for that reading, I had been at my GP and had blood tests done to check for Raynaud's disease. And the stone that had been, drawing my eye. When I looked it up in the Crystal Bible, one of the first healing properties in it was aids in the relief of symptoms of Raynaud's disease. And it was in that moment I kind of understood what people mean when they say about stones, crystals, or plants, calling them. It's not that they start jumping up and down and go, pick me, pick me, pick me. It's not this external sound of, Amanda, pick me, I'm for you. It's not that at all. But it's when our awareness, when we're constantly being drawn to something, when something keeps crossing our path, keeps presenting ourselves, because again, everything is frequency. So if a frequency keeps coming into your awareness, that's that frequency calling you. That's where it's like, join the dots, and it's like, okay, there's something in this, there's a message here for me. And that's when you go do your research, and again, you can trust your own intuition too, but when you're starting out, it's really handy. And nowadays it's much easier because you can Google these things, whereas before you used to have books or borrow somebody's book and try and flick through it and find the information you're looking for. Now you just have to type it into your phone. Spiritual message of, whatever animal, plant, or crystal, that's presenting to you. And it's remarkable, what will resonate. And I think I may have mentioned, don't know, see again, I forget what I say in my videos. Plus, again, I'm having so many conversations with people all the time. But there's also, I'm losing that one now. So it's just, sorry, my own little inner battle there. So, okay, lads, drop it back in, please. Okay, that will come back to me because I'm getting caught up in that. Oh my God, I've just lost it live. So I let it go and I trust it will come back. So, dragon frequencies. What do you have to say? Do you have a message? Kuan Yin's pink dragon brings firm love and resets your karmic balance. See all your cords dissolved by transcendent love. Enjoy your freedom and look for the divine around you. And again, this is all about the going back in, like the beautiful pink. And pink is associated with Archangel Chamuel and, the frequencies of love. Again, I believe that's a lotus flower in this image. Again, the lotus is, a very powerful symbol because it begins, at the bottom of a pond in the murk, in the dark, in the darkness. And out of that, it rises up and becomes this beautiful flower, this transformation. And again, it's about, out of our own darkness, by working on it and flowing through it, we become this beautiful low frequency. And again, find ourselves within, but we have to go through the darkness, through the shadow aspects first. And we got Sunshine Yellow Dragon, helps you to help animals, serve animals, heal, respect, and understand them. And again, animals, they're just such wonderful frequencies. And again, everything is frequencies and vibration. And animals, they're very intelligent, very clever, very intuitive, but they don't have the analytical minds that we do. So we have ourselves fragmented. There could be a piece of us at work, a piece of us at home, another piece of us wondering what our friends are up to, or a piece of us remembering box sets or movies that we watched. So we're always splitting our focus and attention, and we're rarely fully present in any moment. But the animals, they really are. Um, and again, the horses in particular are teaching me so much lately. Sorry, I've been really drawn to the spirals within on these stones. And again, healing, looking within, it is all about, I don't know if you can see it there. There's one here and here. And again, for me, healing, it's all about the spiral. And in this image, the dragon is curled around the little fawn, the little squirrels. The birds are on the wings. There is nothing to fear because in the animal kingdom, they're all authentic. And animals feel who's a threat. Now, even like horses, obviously they're the ones I'm interacting with most lately. They are prey animals. And they're one of the few prey animals that don't have horns to defend themselves. So their instinct is to flee. And I believe that's why, cattle ranchers in the States and that would use horses for rounding cattle up because they've quicker reflexes because they have to as part of their evolution. It's part of their survival mechanism. So they would have quicker reflexes than other prey animals that have the horns to protect themselves and the ability to fight back. So when these animals welcome you into their space and trust you enough, that's such a beautiful privilege. And I've really been appreciating that lately. Because like that, I've been encountering animals that have not been trained. They may be domesticated and, people own them, but people aren't interacting with them. They're wild in the fields. Hi, Tony. Thanks for joining me. So when an animal, which is, as close to a wild animal as we're going to get in Ireland these days, really, when they start to trust you and allow you into their space and welcome you, that's such a privilege and it's such a beautiful thing. And it's tying back in. It's the same with us. When we're our authentic selves, we know who we feel safe with, and we need to start trusting our own intuition, our own guidance, because we really do know who we're safe with and who we're not. And, it's very important that we start getting to know ourselves so that we can trust ourselves, because most of us have given our power away to others. Most of us have, been conditioned to be the good little boy and girl and, forget about having our own boundaries because it's more important to be considered polite and a good boy or girl or man or woman, whatever, than it is to actually honor and respect and trust your own intuition. Because our bodies, we are finely tuned machines that when we can learn how these machines work, they're very powerful in recognizing safety, danger. And again, I just keep getting drawn to, these animals, and again, back to the folklore and myth, fire-breathing dragons, they're often depicted as, they'd be out eating these creatures. And yet here they are depicted as friends together. Because again, it's not about the external image. It's about the frequency of who, what lies within. Um, see if there's anything else there. Something's telling me to have a quick shuffle of my mystical shaman before I go, so I'll do as asked. And sorry, just as I'm doing this, I'm just getting, again, just to re-emphasize the importance. Trust yourself. When you're watching movies, box sets, reading books or whatever, or just in general day-to-day lives, when something resonates, pay attention to it. Start trusting yourself, because there's an awful lot of wisdom and truth woven in to a lot of our stories, myths, legends, folklore, box sets, movies, whatever. So trust yourself. Sorry, something guided me to look at the bottom of the deck. Soul retrieval. Again, look at this. We've got a butterfly and a chrysalis going on here. And again, it's about this, this transformation, this important transformation, and we're all actually experiencing this right now, whether we're aware of it or not. And again, it takes time. And when the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, you know, I don't know. I'm not a caterpillar, I haven't experienced it, but one would imagine when your body liquefies to reform, it's kind of a challenging process. And same thing, it's about when we're looking within, when we're retrieving our own soul aspect. Again, mirror work, talk to yourself, get to know the soul within, because they're there. Your light is there. Nothing and no one can ever put your light out. It might get buried under layers of, debris and ash and pain from the past, but it is always there. That glowing ember is always there. And, this is talking to me about, take some time, go into your chrysalis, breathe some life back into the ember within, bring your soul to life, let your light spring forth. And when you do, you are going to come out and emerge as this beautiful butterfly. But it all comes down to trusting yourself. Um, do you have anything else to say before we close this video off? Didn't catch what that was when it fell. Sorry, bottom of the deck, Mystical Shaman. Number 38. What do we have? 4 and 9, which is 13, the 13 frequency. I'm getting the 13 grandmothers. And again, 1 and 3, put it together, is 4. It's about stability, grounding, solid foundations. And this is about building a relationship, a solid foundation with yourself before we can actually have proper solid foundations with others. And again, at the moment, this is just screaming to me, trust your wisdom, trust what's within. We dismiss this. We're so caught up in doing what we're told that, all of this wisdom, the wisdom of our ancestors, they're always with us, known and unknown. And again, the birds, the feathers, it's all speaking about messages, messages and wisdom. And again, the ancestors, they had, particularly here in Ireland, we had the bards, we had the spoken, the oral tradition of sharing stories. And, the bards were revered, and they could travel the country and everybody welcomed them in, provided food and lodgings for them, like they were considered revered guests. And again, they would, share their stories and their music with the people, as they traveled around, as they were welcomed in. And again, this is how the wisdom of the ancestors were kept alive. Um, and again, this is just screaming ancestors at me. And again, all that wisdom lies within each and every one of us. All that wisdom is accessible to every single one of us. But we need to put ourselves into the mode of receiving it. Yeah, we got the lower world again. At the moment today, what this is talking to me again is like what we started out. It's about that deep diving. It's going deep into the shadow. You know, this this is quite a dark card, but at the same time, there's lots of illumination in it. But you have to go. You have to go get the illumination. It's up to you to journey. Sorry, and again, shamanic journeying. It's up to you to take that journey, to go in and ask your ancestors, ask your guides to guide you, to light the way, to help you find your own light within. And again, 31, 3 and 1, it's 4 again. Yeah, anything else? Are we done? Or have you anything else to say? Yep, I think that's it. Um, so, as I said, starting off, take what resonates and leave the rest. I'm going to do my best to stop being so reluctant to bring these messages forward, um, and try to remember that, when I'm interacting with people one to one, so many times, just because something makes absolutely no sense to me, it usually does to the person that I share it with. So I just have to trust that somebody somewhere will receive this as what they need. I hope it's of benefit to you. I hope it helps. I hope it helps shine a light, in order to help you connect with yourself and tune in to your own wisdom, because the guidance is all there. Trust what resonates, trust what you're feeling in your body. Pay close attention to how you're feeling, what's lighting you up, and what gives you that sinking feeling. Because something giving you that sinking feeling, that's heavy, denser stuff, pay attention to it and trust yourself. Don't let other people tell you to dismiss that and ignore that, because your gut never lies. That's your soul's wisdom. That's your own divine source connection within, trying to guide you. And we all have free will, whether we choose to follow that guidance or ignore it. But I hope this message was of benefit to you. I wish you well and see you again. Take care. Bye.